Welcome to Suburban Warrior, the podcast that will impact, inspire, and empower you to transform your mindset and become the badass warrior that you are. I'm your host and fellow warrior, Chrissy Pfeiffer, former clinician and corporate marketing exec turned multi-passionate entrepreneur, performance and life coach, and mom to 4 not-so-little warriors. Each week, I will bring you honest conversations with inspiring guests to share their stories of resilience, optimism, success, and simple yet effective strategies so that you transform your thoughts and change your behavior to get the results you want in your life. You will be empowered to take action, warrior up, and believe in you. Let's do this. What's up, warriors? Welcome back to another episode of the Suburban Warrior Podcast. I'm your host, Chrissy Pfeiffer, back another week with an amazing warrior story for you. And I think today's guest is truly a testament to the phrase, yes, you can. Because I know myself, and I know that we all do this, but we always think that we don't have the time in our lives to do the things that we're really passionate about, or maybe they seem like pipe dreams to us or something that's really fun. Well, I think today's guest is doing it all, and she is here to tell us how. So let me introduce to you Tania Trozzo. She is a romance author with books ranging from young adult to contemporary fiction. She was born in the suburbs of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, where she now lives with her 3 amazing kids and husband. She attended high school and a year of college in the region of Calabria, located in southern Italy. Although she attended and graduated from the formerly known Philadelphia University, she returned once again to Italy, spending 3 years in Verona, the city of Romeo and Juliet. She currently works as a leader in a large tech company. After her father became ill, she decided to give a voice to the characters and stories that were in her head, producing 3 books so far and currently working on her latest contemporary romance novel. She enjoys waking up early when the house is quiet to work on her writing, as well as post helpful tips on keeping your romance alive and incorporating it into your day-to-day. Welcome to the podcast, Tania.
Thank you, Chrissy. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm thrilled too, because I am, first of all, super excited to hear about your story. You're a mom, you work in the corporate world at a demanding job, and you are following your passion and writing books, which I think is really awesome. I can't wait to hear all about, and they're romance novels, which is so fun, right? You're writing fiction romance novels. I always have this dream and vision in my head that I'm going to, write a book on like personal development, because obviously as a coach and stuff, that's my gig. But how fun, fiction, romance. I can't wait to get into all that and hear some of your helpful tips of keeping romance in our lives. So welcome. Super excited to hear.
Thank you.
So let's first start at, I think it's in your bio. I found it really interesting that, you said after your father became ill is when you sort of really decided, okay, I'm going to do this and I'm going to follow my passion, and I'm going to take all of these stories and characters that are in my head and I'm going to start writing. I'd love to sort of hear a little bit about what that process was like for you, because I think a lot of times in life, it takes like an event, something that happens to us, good or bad sometimes, that really throws us into guiding us to like our North Star, like what we should really be doing. So I'd love to hear a little bit about that process for you.
Of course. And I agree. I don't know exactly what it was about my father getting ill that, finally pushed me to that. It wasn't like he was a writer or I had discussed this with him, but it was very therapeutic for me. And I think it helped that I read a lot, right? So I read a lot of self-help books, usually first thing in the morning because my mind is more alert, but I love the romance or any type of novel at the end of the day to kind of unwind. And I kept reading and it was like, oh, I love this book, or, oh, story was like, I got the story in the beginning and then why did she end it this way? Or, oh, I wish she had spoken more about this character. And I just kept saying, I used to write in my journal, I used to write poems, and here I was, and I wasn't like doing what I really, really, really loved to do. And so when he got sick, something just clicked. And I guess some of the help goes to the people that, write the self-help books like Rachel Hollis and Jen Sincero, that they're like, you need to take the time. You do have the time if it's a priority for you, right? Because I think, I bet you understand, as a mom, you have 4 kids. I have 3. I help take care of my mother now. I have a demanding job, but we need that thing that lights our soul on fire. And for me, that's writing, so it took a lot of discipline, and it still does, but I have some tips if you want to hear them, but
share away. Absolutely.
Well, I personally like to wake up first thing in the morning. I've always been an early bird. There's people that love to write at night, but I need like a little bit of quiet. If not, everybody needs something from me as soon as I sit down, if I do it in the middle of the day. But I think I always set my tone for the day the night before. So I'm always writing. I write words. So I write 500 words, and I make it something. I would set goals like write 2,000 words, and I wouldn't get there. And then I'd be so hard on myself, right? So setting a smaller goal, I usually go over those 500 words, and then I feel really good. And then you just keep going at that point,
Yeah, I love that. I love that you're not only just taking the time in the morning to write, but like you're literally setting a daily goal for yourself, which is extremely helpful, because if you don't, then to your point, like either you overachieve or if you don't achieve. And then I think sometimes you stop doing it because you feel like, oh, I didn't do it, or I didn't do enough. But if you're setting a goal and you're achieving it on a daily basis, it makes you want to keep going.
Exactly. And sometimes, go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask you, because I'm curious, is your background or education in college in writing?
No.
Yeah, that's what I love. I love that. It's amazing.
I graduated with a bachelor's in fashion merchandising.
Okay.
I loved fashion. I went to high school in Italy, and the high school I went to, high schools there are very specialized. More like, you either go to the tech school or the biology school. And I went to the accounting school. So I did like numbers. So I was thinking fashion and business. And in fact, that brought me into over 15 years experience in retail. But writing was not on my radar. It was literally, though, every time I had a writing class, the teachers would come to me and say, if you're reading or you're writing, like, you're passionate about it. Or I won like the mini thesis award. And I know that had nothing to do with romance, but my teacher literally said to me, my advisor's like, you're going to win that mini thesis award. And I was like, I am? And he's like, yeah, you're my A. So no ifs, ands, or buts. And in fact, I did win it. And he's like, I just knew. He's like, because we always end up talking about books and writing when you come to see me. So
I love it. Well, I think, again, that's just amazing. And it's sort of a testament to, no matter what your education is in, no matter what prior jobs you've had before, it's never too late to switch it up, right? It's never too late to try something new. Follow your passion. Just learn a new hobby. I mean, anything. So as you were talking about writing, I just was curious. I didn't know if you had a background in it. And I do think there's a lot of people who are extremely creative and amazing writers, but think that they can't write a book or anything because it's just not, their background or what their education is in. So, okay. So I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Back to the tips for, you said goal setting, carving out time, any other tips for using that discipline?
So as a writer, and I think every artist in some way, whether it's a musician or an artist or a painter or whoever comes across this, but sometimes, you're given this empty canvas and it just doesn't come.
Yeah.
So not to hold yourself back because of that or to get disappointed. If I can't think of something to write, I go back to what I wrote and I maybe edit it. And then that sometimes sparks an idea, or I go and I read passages of my favorite books, and that maybe sparks some ideas or something. So never to get disappointed in that moment. You're always going to have a day where it just doesn't come. And then you're going to have days where literally it seems like the pen is taking over and or the keyboard is taking over, and you just keep writing. And I would also recommend getting rid of distractions. So I found I keep my phone on the counter and, try to get rid of that. If not, if I'm in a pause or I'm taking a break for a second and trying to think of the exact word, then I always go on my phone and then somebody chimes in with a message or something. So getting rid of distractions is also.
It's like going down the rabbit hole, right? Yes. I mean, how many times do you pick up your phone and then someone text you and then you're responding and then you forget why you even picked up your phone and you've completely lost your train of thought. So I think those are amazing suggestions. Absolutely. And I also love about not giving up if you just can't come up with something, because sometimes it's really in the moments when you're least expecting it that great ideas come or something like that. So going back and something you've already done or just doing something different really can spark some real creative thought in your mind.
I also think that even if you only have half an hour, and whatever your passion is, do it for that half an hour, right?
Yeah.
It will make your whole day better. I find writing is therapeutic for me at this point. It really helped me as my father was ill and every day I was visiting him in the hospital, escaping into my story and writing about their love or whatever my characters were going through truly helped me, in a time of stress. And I find that when I'm too stressed out, then I can't write. And then it just keeps going, that then I just can't keep writing. And if I stay focused and write, I feel better. We all need to, again, even if it's 30 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, that's really amazing advice. And it sounds so simple, but when you think about, how we may not start doing an activity like writing, working out, meditating. I mean, any of these things that could be really good for us, or like you said, anything that you find passionate about. I mean, it could be knitting, it could be, I don't know, anything. Cooking, but and you think oh, I'm not going to do that because I don't have enough time in this time block. I only have 30 minutes. But when you think about the amount of time that we spend scrolling, reading emails, looking through Instagram or whatever social media of choice, a half hour goes by so quickly, and you could have been reading a book, meditating, taking a nap, really anything. But I think that's such an important point to say, even if it's a small amount of time, still do it. Just dedicate yourself to it. Yeah, it's awesome. Okay. So here you are, you're a mom of 3. You have a demanding corporate job in tech, which again, I love because it's not your background. So we can do anything, right? And so you decide to start writing. I love that. But was there a time when you started and you said, okay, what am I doing? This is silly, or I can't do this. And if so, how did you overcome it?
Oh, wow. Of course. I still go through those times. Imposter syndrome is real.
Yeah.
I think there were quite a few times, and I still go through it today, especially, if I feel that I haven't sold enough books, or I didn't get the, whatever it is that I set goals, right?
A certain review
or whatever. So I think that literally I push through. I keep saying, I keep thinking of stories of people that had that one book or that one movie or things that it will come. I'm huge on thinking positive and trying to manifest. I think, it's so hard, but really thinking positive. And the other day I was literally talking to myself, not my alter ego, but I was talking to the part of myself that kept having these doubts. And I was like, you got to shut up. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
I will do this. It may not be today. It may not be tomorrow, but I will push through, and I'm going to keep going. And even if, I think you've said this in a few of your podcasts, sometimes success comes when you least expect it in a different form.
Yes. Yes,
right?
of course. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I think as long as you are taking action in your life to follow the things that you're truly passionate about and love, that and honestly, sometimes, I mean, it's success as we define it. Sometimes success comes after tragedies and traumas because it's going through these experiences in life that lead us to some of the most ultimate successes that we can never even imagine. Right. And so, and obviously you're doing a great job of talking back to yourself and saying, stop saying that. Yes, I can. I'm going to push through, because you haven't just written one book. I think it's two, and you're working on your third, I believe. Is that correct?
I have three and I'm working on my
Oh,
fourth.
there you go. Look, okay. So even better. Look at that. You've three books out. You're working on your fourth. I mean, that's amazing. And that is a testament to you truly believing in what you're doing and saying, I got this and I'm going to keep going. And I do truly believe that as long as we're following our passions and taking action, that, imposter syndrome is real. I think everybody has it. But I think what's funny is that if we ask ourselves, like, why do I feel like an imposter? Because it's just like the weirdest feeling that we have sometimes, right? I mean, even the most famous of people have it, and they're so talented and so gifted, but we all are, right? We're all so talented and gifted in our own way. So it's just recognizing that syndrome is never going to go away, no matter who you are. So you just keep going. Okay. So tell us about your books, because I'd love to hear about it. These juicy romance novels.
So I have three books. My first is Breathe, and it's part of a series. And there's Breathe and Let It All Go. Let It All Go is actually the third book I wrote, because I wrote a different book in between. But it's a young adult novel about basically a girl. She starts a new school, has a troubled past, and she finds love and a new group of friends. And really, I think people can identify with her because she teeters on this line of 1 minute being very secure of herself, like all teenagers are, but I actually think everyone is this way, right? Even grown women. And then the next minute of doubting herself, doubting that this boy actually loves her, that, she can overcome her past. So I think people can really relate to that. And then the second book I wrote is called Lucky Charm. And that is more of a new adult contemporary romance. And it's a best friends to lovers romance. It's actually an interracial romance. And for me, it's the sweetest story. It's actually, if I have to go back and read any of my books, I always go back to that one because it always makes me feel good.
I love that. It's awesome. So then let me ask you about like the inspiration, because I know you said you had these like characters and, stories in your head. How, because there are people that like, I think want to write books and think about writing books and then think about like, where to begin or where does the inspiration start? I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about like what that process, like, let's take Lucky Charm, for instance, because since you love that story. Like, did it start as just like a little idea in your head, and then as you write, it just builds? Or did you have the whole story in your head and then just had to start putting it down? How does that work?
So it's funny you asked that, because Lucky Charm, I think, was the odd man out of the three of them, in the sense that my first book took more than 2 years to write. My second book, the continuation of the first book, Let It All Go, took about a year or more. Like, it was very difficult. I don't know why to write it. Lucky Charm literally took me 2.5 months. It sparked from this idea in my mind. And I have never had, when I say that characters, you'll hear this among writers and you don't believe it until it happens to you. But literally the characters were like pulling me out of bed, and the scene would just come and I'd type another scene every morning. And it was during quarantine. So we were stuck at home, and my kids would like come into the kitchen and see me and I'd be like, I just have to finish this. I just have to finish this.
Yeah.
And I wrote that book out of order. Like it was literally every scene that came, it came. I then had to print it all out because I'm one of those people that I need to see it.
Yeah.
And I laid it out on my dining room table and I put it into order. And when
Wow.
I gave it to my beta readers, I said, I think there's 2 chapters missing. And they read it and they're like, no, I like it. I'm like, no, there's 2 chapters missing. I feel it. I have to think about it. Waited a week, wrote another 2 chapters, inserted them, gave it back. And she was like, now I get it. You really tied it all together. And she's like, how did you know that it wasn't done? I was like, I don't know. I just knew it wasn't totally finished.
I love that. That is so cool. I mean, what a fun process.
It was. And I think that everybody's creative process is obviously different. And so when I said before, like, don't get disappointed or stuck in, oh my God, I didn't write 5 chapters or I didn't write the 5 pages I wanted. Everybody has a different creative process. Sometimes you're not going to write it from beginning to end in order.
Right.
Sometimes you may start from the end and build forward. Sometimes it may be totally out of order. Sometimes half and half. Like everybody's process is different and everyone just has to do what works for them.
Yeah. And it sounds like even once you find your process, it could evolve and change, you know, as yours did, because I guess you evolve as a writer and you evolve as a creative. So as you're doing it, your process changes and you sort of just have to allow yourself to go with the flow.
Yeah. And I would add as a tip, I do write an outline at some point. It's not always at the beginning though, strangely.
Yeah.
Or I started at the beginning and the outline really involves, and I'm moving things around in the outline. But like with Lucky Charm, I wrote a few ideas and the outline actually came after. And that's when I realized that there were chapters missing.
Oh, I see. I got it. I love it. So the first book and the third book and the fourth, are they part of a trilogy?
My 4th book is actually a standalone.
Oh, standalone. Okay.
So it will be part of a trilogy. The Breathe series will be a trilogy, but I'm not there yet. I had much like, I'm saying before, sometimes you can't control it. I get another story in my mind and that's what I want to run with.
Oh, got it. Okay. I love it. All right. So the 4th book, will that be like an adult romance novel as well?
Yes. Not so much young adult, more contemporary, new adult. So they're in college and beyond.
Okay. Okay, great. So really something for everybody.
Yes. Yes.
I love it. I love it. Okay. So tell me, obviously you have a lot on your plate. You're balancing a lot. What is like one of the things that you do? Maybe it's a habit or just something on a daily basis that helps you balance it all. Because I know there's there's a lot of working moms out there that have a full-time job. They're managing the home, but they also might have like something else that they want to do. And I think a lot of times we tell ourselves we can't do it. There's not enough time. I'm just curious if there's something, besides really just the discipline and getting up in the morning and doing it that allows you to sort of balance it all.
Well, one thing I do, first of all, I think it takes a village. So I do think
you have to delegate and ask for help, right?
I have to delegate and ask for help. But what really helps me is that I set up for my day the night before. So I write out all the calls that I have for work, all the meetings I have. I write my 3 most important things that I want to get done. And usually that always involves something about writing or marketing what I've written. And then I have my regular to-do lists and I set them by priority. So setting up the night before so that when I wake up, I'm not already like, oh my God, what do I have to do today? Like I already know because I already have it written down. And sometimes I think the other habit is that sometimes you just need to disconnect, whether it's going for a walk, whether it's listening to your favorite song, whether, I'm not sure if you would consider that a habit, but as moms,
absolutely.
We have so much on our plate sometimes. And, I think I bring up all the time, it's not just caring for the kids. It's like, I have 3 kids in 3 different schools. So I get 3 different sets of emails and 3 different sets of activities and trying to keep it all coordinated that sometimes you have to step away, because if not, you're not going to get anything done. So step away, take care of yourself, 20 minutes, half an hour, and then you got to come back.
Yeah, that's great advice. And then, so on top of all of that, you're keeping romance alive. And I love it. So I know you have some helpful tips for keeping the romance alive on a daily basis. What are your top few tips on that for all of my listeners out there?
Excellent question. So I think my first one is to start small. I think sometimes when we think about being romantic or just trying to keep the spark alive, we're thinking, I need 5 dozen roses and
big gestures.
Yeah, we need big gestures. I don't believe that. I think that, it can start with something small, leaving a note, calling just to say hello. I think behind every small gesture lies big feelings and big emotions.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
I also think something that can help is making a list together, because life gets crazy. We know that. And sometimes we tend to leave our relationship to the side, we'll do that next year, or we'll do that next month. Make almost a bucket list. It can be a yearly bucket list, or it can be a full bucket list. But when I set my goals for the year, I set my goals as a family too. I want to take them someplace new. We want to try this together. We want to try a new activity. Do that with your partner too. You keep saying you want to try ballroom dancing. Put it on your bucket list.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And that gives you an opportunity to actually share or take some time to think with each other. Wait, what do I want to do?
Exactly. And it also, when you set a goal, sometimes it inspires you to really go after it a little bit more. And I'd also, if possible, then set a deadline with the goal, right? By the end of the year, we want to go on 5 dates. Right.
Love it.
By the end of the year, we're going a weekend away. So let's figure it out now. And then date nights, I think, are important. And sometimes I understand people have small kids and they don't have any help, or they don't have the finances to get a babysitter. You can still do a date night at home. You can stargaze in the backyard. You can turn down the lights and turn on the music and dance in the middle of the living room.
Yeah.
You can snuggle on the couch. Again, small gestures speak volumes. And lastly, I think have fun. Remember when you were young and you used to flirt with guys, or guys used to flirt with girls? You used to have fun. Have fun.
Have fun. I know, right? It's just remembering that that's what we're here for, right? We're here and meant to have fun and enjoy the little things in life, right?
Romance is about being thoughtful, being intentional, right?
Yeah.
So little gestures of remembering the favorite candy, or I have a friend that's oh my God, when he makes me my cup of coffee exactly the way I like it, I swear, I just want to hug him really tight and kiss him all over his face. It's the little things. It's the thought behind the things that count.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Tania, I loved hearing all about you today and all about the books and how you do it all, because I truly think that you do. And it's pretty amazing. So I want to remind all of our listeners that the names of your books are Breathe, Lucky Charm, and Let It All Go. Those are your 3. They're out now. And I'm assuming they can be found everywhere.
Amazon
is the place for everything.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's awesome. Well, I'm super excited. I'm going to start with Lucky Charm, because now that I know that's your favorite, that's the one I'm going to download on my Kindle next. You have to
tell me what you think though.
Oh, I will. I cannot wait. I'm excited it's always fun to read a book when you know the author or you hear the author's story, because now I know where that story came from, and it's just makes it that much more exciting. So thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. Where can listeners find you on Instagram?
Listeners can find me at Tania the Hopeless Romantic, Tania_ the Hopeless Romantic on Instagram.
Oh, I love it.
And author Tania Trozzo on TikTok.
Oh, good. I love it. Okay. I'll follow you on TikTok. I have 2 videos that my kids keep begging me to take down. No, my guys, no one cares. No one sees my TikTok. So anyway, well, thank you so much for joining us. It was a pleasure to talk to you. You are super inspiring and such a suburban warrior. And I want to encourage all my listeners to check her out on Instagram. Go grab one of her books and start reading instead of scrolling. And we will be back next week with another amazing warrior story for you. Talk to you next week.
Thank you so much.